Hey everybody, we're back live, 2024 SSA Tom Egg Czarnik Class A National Championship. And we got what should be a good one. Dirty 38s looked exceptionally well yesterday. Getting to my perch, we're going to be at third base, sun to my back. And much warmer today than it was yesterday. Although they're telling us tomorrow it could struggle to get into the 70s. How about that? So just a typical crazy weather here in the city of Chicago as the sun comes out. And for those of you checking us out on the live stream for the first time, this is Chicago's 16-inch style softball, 60-foot bases, can lead off, you can't steal, 38 feet from the pitching rubber to the point of home plate. We're playing no gloves, so the pitcher gets a drag step, one step right, left, or back. He gets two fakes or hesitations. Third arm action must be to deliver the pitch to home plate. A throw or a fake to a base is considered one of your two fakes or hesitations. 6:12 on the arc. We're back on a normal schedule. No weather concerns today, knock on wood. So we're going back to the open count. And it's been a fun tournament. We're seeing some teams really take some steps up, especially the younger teams who are kind of cutting their teeth here a little bit. Again, this is 16-inch clincher. It's not a mush ball. We use heavy bats. Can weigh up to 38 ounces, 2 1/4 on the barrel. No longer than 34. 300 down the lines, 305 to dead center. Got a wind gently blowing in, so you're going to have to be a man or a beast to get one out of here today. Anything that bounces over, through, or under a fence is a ground rule triple. So again, I'm fighting a little glare this time of the day, so if I don't get to your comments, not ignoring you. And the live stream is powered by Gold Rush Gaming. If you're going to put video gaming in your establishment, give them a call at 630-307-0500. You can email them at inquiries@goldrushgaming.com. Please tell them you love the stream, heard about it from the SSA, and please gamble responsibly. So leading off is going to be Joe, the right fielder. Joe is the MVP of the Terry Moran tournament, and he lines out to the third baseman for out number one. So Chris Nordskog, I should say, the OG at the end. And that's how the game begins. So here's the second hitter, Justin, playing third base today. So the 38s have been a high-quality A team. They don't like to play with the mitts. And there's a swing and a sinking line drive, and it drops right in front of the left fielder, Anthony Miserendendo. They call him Messi. And here's Julian Russell. We made a comment on an earlier stream that Julian was the target of some teams trying to pry him off of this club, but he elected to come back. Very slick shortstop. And there's he rakes one, but fouled down the line. So we had all 24 teams play last night. Park was jam-packed. All 24 had to come back today. Big crowd, especially under the shaded area near our table in the concession stand. We did notice a lot of teams putting up tents again. So here's Julian, runner on first here. And Julian goes the other way, sinking line drive, and that's going to fall in front of Bobby Monroe. Good read by Justin to get to third. Runners on the corner, one out. And here's Connor Grove.
Good job, bro.
So Alan Osinski, who runs this team, terrific dude. 38s don't like to play with the glove much, but they do jump into these no-glove events. And they would be considered, I would think, one of the teams, if you had to handicap the top 4 or 5, as being a potential favorite. I think Bankrol's in there, Fat Kids, And there's a swing and a ground ball over to Luke Thorpe to Russ DeLude. And they spin the double play, erase the threat. So we'll go bottom of the first, no score. Luke Thorpe, very good job, good quick hands, got it over to DeLude, and he turns the double play. So here we go, Bankroll coming to bat. And currently in the winner's bracket, other games going on right now, we got Goodwood, came back late to beat Traffic by a run. Field for Traffic, they lost another one-run game, 3-2. So they're making progress. Nikki Gaddis got some younger players on that team, and they've been slowly but steadily being more and more competitive every time we see them. So that's good to see. And Los Parachos look good so far in the tournament, winning their 2 ball games. Then we got Fat Kids, of course. Angelo Feliciano threw a perfect game for the Fat Kids against the Snappers yesterday, and they're going to play Sauce. If you go back to the previous live stream toward the end, you can catch the last 2 innings, inning and a half of that ball game. Sauce was down, looked like they were struggling, and they rose up and beat the West Side Outlaws. And then, of course, the Gravediggers, who looked good handling the oboes last night, are playing Diesels, had kind of a surprise upset over 10 deep. So some new faces in the final 8. Here's Mike Andrews leading it off. Bankroll's got a few guys that I got the pleasure to coach on Mudville. Mike flies out for out number 1. It's going to bring up Chris Shishan. And Chris has kind of an odd relationship to this tournament in the context that the Czarnik family is supporting and basically underwriting the event in honor of Tom Egg Czarnik, passed away from diabetes. And the first time we really saw Chris, he was playing on Ray Czarnik's shooters team. And of course, this tournament is a fundraiser for JDRF, juvenile diabetes, and he flares that one out of play. So, interesting how the softball community is close-knit. Yeah, Brandon, Primetime lost their ball game. So, Primetime is out of the event. As we're kind of grinding through, we've been putting the results up as of and through the 11:30 games. That live tournament bracket is updated. So Chris Shishan, trying to get something started, goes the opposite way. The right fielder makes the catch. And Joe's a pretty good little player, like we said. I don't know if it was last year or the year before that. He was the MVP at the Terry Moran tournament when the 38s won that game we broadcast live right here on SSA Facebook. And that's going to bring up Chris Nordskog, the third baseman. So we'd like to thank all of the teams and fans for hanging in there with us yesterday. Crazy weather. We were sending out updates left and right, keeping everybody informed. And the mood at the park was fantastic. Turned out to be a beautiful night. Fields were in great shape. And the softball was very competitive and energetic. So here's Chris. And he swings, and there's the first base hit for Bankroll on the afternoon. Now the winners here at these 1 o'clock games, they got a little bit of a layover. So they'll be playing later in the day. But we thought we'd get on the air and show you a little softball here in the winners bracket. So here's Russ DeLude. Yeah, I think the Fat Kids are in that group. 30-38s, Bankroll, Trying to think who else is in the tournament, to be honest with you. So here's Delude, and he hits a little cut shot, and that's out of play. Nice play there by the fan watching the game over there. So in the losers bracket, they catch a little bit of a break. We had 2 rounds of loser bracket games, 10 and 11:30. Now they get a break until 2:30. So little reset again, open count today. Rusty takes that pitch a little deep. Rusty's been around the block a little bit, getting a little older. He's got a couple of kids now. And there he tries to go. That's a knuckleball. Comes right back, though, and the left fielder makes the catch. That's Mark Ross in left. So the 38s and bankroll, no score at the end of 1. And so the field's in really good shape. The water didn't hurt at all, and they got a lot of rain out here overnight. They got out early and worked on them, and were right on time and right on schedule. So it's going to be Mark Ross, Eric Wick, and Scotty. Eric Wicklin. And there's a swing and a little flare, and one thing about Mark is he can really fly. His dad was over here watching. I don't know if he's part of the coaching staff. He's wearing an oboe shirt. Talked to him for a couple of minutes before the ball game. And clearly a proud father. And there's strike 2. So hitters today with the open count, they can be a little more patient. The cutters now will get a second crack at it. And really it's the cutters that complain about the 1-1 count when they do complain. Pitchers kind of like it because they already got a strike on you. And there's a swing toward the gap, but it kind of hooked back a little bit or sliced back right to the center fielder who made the catch, Chris Shishan. Here's Eric Wicklin. First saw Eric with the Park League Heroes. And a little trivia, Park League Heroes were the first team to ever win the SSA Class B National Championship. And they played really well that year. Some of those guys have matriculated up. Wick played many years ago for the Roadrunners, doesn't really play all that much anymore.
Hey, good lead, good lead.
But he is a big mountain of a man. They do, but this is a real good mix on these infields. It's got like a real good, solid clay base, and they do take care of them. So they've played very well and held up very well as well. It's a nice complex. In about a year or so, they're going to get AstroTurf on the infields. And there's a little chopper to third. A little bobble can't make the play. So Eric Wicklin gets on base. 1 out now for the catcher, Scotty. Now he's laughed that Scotty is like a Pete Carell lookalike. Of course, Pete Carell on the Demons. I always gotta facially do it like a double look. So 1 on, 1 out here. No score in the ball game very early, top of the second, or bottom of the second, top of the second. And I think Bankroll picking up Jake Zeman was a great move for them. I think the one thing they lacked maybe the last couple of years was having a little more youth and experience on the mound, so that's certainly going to help them.
Good, Scott. Good, Scott. Hey, you're still ahead.
So Scotty in a good hitters count here. And there's a high pop, and that spins foul. Also think I failed to mention, but I'd throw Goodwood in that category of one of those 4 or 5 teams coming in that you might think would have a good shot at winning. And there's a ground ball and goes off of Zeman. Duluth comes in and he does make the play. So Scotty couldn't make the play. Rusty kept himself active. And it was very interesting because it looked like he took a peek up, saw he had time, didn't really try to gun it, just kind of caught it and very gently eased it over to first. So that brings up Dante. Looks like Davis, the short center. So Wicklin at second here. Top of the second, no score. And there's a slash. Duluth makes the play. Long throw, not in time. And you could see it was up the line a little bit. Marty Dozen, a good job to get off that bag. And he wanted to make sure that it didn't get past him and allow the run to score. So 2 outs here. Brings up Gary Anish. Big spot here early in the ball game. Forty Deuce won their game today so far. Francisco Arenas' squad. I think they might have been playing prime time. And there's a one hopper to Russ Duluth. Got the big Sunday hop and made the play. So far, Rusty played a good solid short center. We head to the bottom of the second. No score. So we got a lot of neat stuff coming up. Of course, we got the Class B National Championship tournament coming up, so UB teams want to put that on your radar. That's in mid-July. Reach out to Francisco Arenas, and he can get you set up for that. And then that same weekend is Chaos in the Chicago area because you got Nicky Lopez on Thursday running his charity event. And Friday you got Papa Hops. You got the Class B National Championship, and you got Terry Moran going on. It's unusual for everybody to be stepping on each other out here, but that's what's going to be happening in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be at the Nicky Lopez tournament. We'll be at Papa Hops. Of course, we'll be at the Class B, and going to try to squeeze time in to get out to Terry Moran. There's a little ground ball. Second baseman isn't going to get there. Luke Thorpe, a little free hopper. And the second baseman's grabbing his elbow there. Or the short center's grabbing his elbow. So that was just a little slow roller hit into the right spot. Can't do nothing with it. Leadoff man on for Jake Zeman. So we got all of that stuff coming up. For you 8 teams, I know a lot of you look forward to Carroll Stream. That tournament is coming up in mid-August. I want to say it's the 17th to the 20th, whatever that weekend is. So start reaching out to us. We're being told from the folks in Iowa we might get another 6 teams in for that. And that's a crazy, crazy tournament. Carroll Stream, brand new turf. I think you 8 teams that have been out there the last couple of years, it's going to be like playing in a new stadium. So here's Zeman. And of course, we'll have a wrap-up show next week with Jerry Brown. And that pitch is a little deep. So first 2 hitters reach here. And Bankroll's got a little bit of a threat starting to brew here as Allen lost home plate there.
You're good. Gotta play the game.
And here's Al Coppersmith. He goes to right field. Joe Krutnik will throw it in. I think his last name is Krutnik. It's something with a K. Easy tag for Luke Thorpe. Runners on the corners now with 1 out, and it brings up Marty Dozen with Dave Bradle on deck. We talk about the geriatric crew on March with Chris Miller and Tommy Lentine. You can almost say Marty Dozen and Dave Bradle fit the bill here. And he tries to punch it. Nice catch by the outfield. And, you know, the run was going to score. He tried to backhand flip it. Jake Zeman wasn't going to go anywhere, but that backhand flip was almost in no man's land. And that's a young player.
Come on, 2 more hits here.
Maybe not thinking the game right. You don't want to give a guy an extra base. 2 outs now, 1-0 Bankroll. And here's Bradle, hits a ground ball. Julian Russell gets a hand on it. And that was almost a slick play there. The short center following the ball caught it. He made a fake with his right hand. Didn't throw it right away. Then he threw it with his left hand to the short second baseman. And Jake Zeman just beat it out. So here's Anthony. And that's the kind of thing that if you're coaching, you want to talk to the kid.
Come on.
And there's a line drive right at the second baseman who makes the play. So AG makes the catch. He'll also be leading off, but in the inning, 1 run.
Let's go.
So Anthony lines out. So we head to the top of the 3rd, 1-0 Bankroll. So like I was saying, you want to talk to your young left fielder and explain to him you got to know who's running. Jake Zeman wasn't going to tag on that. So you got time to get yourself settled and make a good throw. If you backhand that and there's nobody in the neighborhood, Jake might be able to take a little extra real estate on you. And, you know, here at the A level, that play might not hurt you, but as you advance and you start playing better teams or major teams where a lot of those guys can all flat out run, that's the kind of stuff that costs you a ball game. So here's AG. Sky-high fly ball coming in as Shishan, and he makes the catch. Because I've talked about this in the past. I think every game in a lot of situations, especially closer games, and so far this is a closer game, come down to 5 plays. So what you do on those 5 plays makes your life harder or makes it difficult. So you always want to be playing the game the right way. So here's the pitcher, Allen. And he tries to go big down that right field line, way out of play, onto the other diamond. So, and those 5 plays can be anything. It can be a play like we saw Mark make there that could potentially end up costing you a run, or it could be failure to score a guy from third with less than 2, throwing to the wrong base. So these are things that you try to ingrain in your team when you're running and coaching them. And Allen swings and he goes hard to the gap. Shishan is there, and he makes the catch. Again, we got a wind blowing in. Think anything hit high in the air like that is going to get knocked down. Feels like it's right to my back. So it's blowing in from left or left center. And here's the top of the lineup with Joe. Top of the third here, 1-0. And there's a little cut job, and he gets it through. And that's kind of what Joe does. He's kind of a slender-built kid. He'll move the ball around the field.
Joe,
He brings up Justin. Now, Joe is an outfielder. He can scoot pretty good. Justin can find a gap here with 2 outs. It'll be interesting to see how aggressive they are. And there's a little spinner. Looked like he was maybe trying to hit something into right center.
let's go, Justin.
So we'll reset here with Justin. And there's a swing, and that ball's going to die in the air, and Bobby Monroe will make the play. They're hitting it into the alleys and the gaps, but they're hitting it with too much air, and the ball just isn't going to carry on this diamond. So we head bottom of the third, still 1-0. And if I'm not mistaken, it should be 11-1-2. Bobby Monroe, Mike Andrews, and Chris Shishan coming up. So if you didn't get a chance to watch yesterday, right toward the tail end of the last broadcast last night, we caught the last inning and a half of a Westside Outlaws Sauce game. And that was a pretty good finish.
Come on, Bobby.
So I'll be interested to see what happens in that Diesel Gravediggers game. This is one of those teams that will be in the Final Four of the winner's bracket. And they're both younger teams. So in either case, it'll be a little bit of a surprise to see them in the winner's bracket in the Final Four. So it is warm out here, but now we got a little cloud coverage and a nice breeze. And here's Bobby Monroe now. So Fat Kid's pounding the ball, opening up a big lead early on Sauce. And Bobby slashes it, but right at the short center. Makes an easy catch, Dante. And here comes the top of the Bankroll lineup. Bankroll actually rolled up some good numbers. They beat Hardaway 12-9. We gave you a little bonus coverage. They had opened up a 7-2 lead when we walked away. I heard that swelled. And Hardaway kind of came back in the latter half of that game to tighten it up. And they won their first game relatively easily yesterday. Of course, they were playing over on field 5, and the wind was kind of pushing out on that time, and we saw quite a few runs scored there yesterday. So I expect and have seen today hitters being a lot more patient with that open count. Andrews, little ground ball to Julian Russell, and it gets through Wick's hands. So Julian came in very smooth, threw a head-high strike to Wicklund, And Wick immediately tapping his chest to let Julian know that was his fault. So Andrews on with an error there. You would charge that to Wick, not the shortstop. And there's a swing and a sinker, and he can't make the catch. And Andrews was about 2 feet from the bag. He thought Mark was going to make the catch. And then when he dropped it, he was stumbling and bumbling, but he managed to get to the bag and stay on it. So 1 out, 2 on here. And there's a swing and a line drive caught, and that's going to be a double play. Mike Andrews, losing track of the outs there, was running. Dante made the catch. Easy double play. So potential rally gets wiped out by the double play. We head to the top of the fourth, still 1-0. We'll see if this 38-38 team gets a little juice out of that, and if they can generate a little offense. And again, a lot of times your third base coach will always remind the runner of the situation, and you'll always hear in the background, let the line drive go through. I think sometimes when we play no glove, guys will anticipate a little too much, and that happens. With the glove, the hitters are a little more conservative. So it's going to be 3, 4, 5, Julian, Connor, and Mark. So we're approaching the halfway mark of this ball game. 38's looking for their first run. And again, it takes a lot of discipline with the wind blowing in 16-inch because of the effect the wind can't have on the ball. And he goes hard down the line, but the left fielder, Anthony, gets there and makes the catch. And you could see Julian hit it pretty hard, but that wind knocking everything down. And it's funny, I've had a lot of teams that I've managed, and even when I had the pleasure of running flashback, as good as they were offensively, on occasion when the wind blown in, they would brain freeze and wouldn't make an adjustment. And there's a little flare, and that ball is going to drop. They were playing him very deep. I think a little too deep for the weather conditions.
Rover!
Hit it toward the end of the bat, and that ball just landed nice and polite in center field. So now,
hey, can we run?
Mark Ross, here's a pinch runner. Mark Ross, extraordinarily fast. So if you're an infielder now, you've got to be cognizant. You can't pump fake to second and then decide you're going to throw to first. This kid will beat it out. And there's a ball off of Jake Zeman. It stayed right there, but it did roll far enough to let the tying run, the pinch runner, hustle into 2. 2 outs now, Eric Wickland coming to bat. Now Eric is a big, strong guy. He's looking at how deep. Here's where if you're Wick, you want to concentrate and think about driving it through the infield or hitting a line drive. And normally, if there was no wind, I would think they were playing them too shallow. And it is deceptive here because it is 305 to center, 300. We were hanging the banners in the rain yesterday, and trust me, walking out there, these are big outfields, folks. After we got done at the end of the day, I had 18,000 steps in. So here's Wick. And that's a veteran move. You got an open base, And you've got a guy like Wick who can rake. So he was in no hurry. Now he sets up the fielder's choice. And here's Scotty, the catcher. Didn't look like Zeman really wanted to pitch to Wick. Two trains of thought. I never liked the unintentional walk because pitchers sometimes make mistakes and they'll end up throwing a meatball. And that ball, a little fly ball, that's going to do it. Halfway through, 1-0. On the converse side, some managers think if you intentionally walk a guy and you don't go through the motions that you pump up the next hitter. So little two-out rally, they can't push anything across. Halfway through, 1-0. So it's going to be Russ DeLude, Luke Thorpe, and Jake Zeman. And I think with the win and the way the game is going here, I think if you get guys on now, you got to kind of change your approach a little bit. You got to think about manufacturing some runs, whether that's a hit and run, but when you get these opportunities, you got to find a way to move them around the bases. And that's why I say sometimes you see guys and they got their entire game pre-planned. And they got a little sheet. I'm going to hit this guy here, that guy here. And I'm not a big believer in that. I just think every game takes on its own personality. And certain games require that you have certain players on the field. And I think that you, as a manager, if you're out there, always think ahead and be flexible because you don't know which direction. Sometimes you get in the game and everybody's throwing hits out there, including the last guy in your lineup. And then you got days when nobody can buy a hit. And you got to adjust accordingly. So Russ DeLude here trying to get something started. And there's a little spinner. So here you got the dog barked right before the swing. And they're giving the little dog here credit for that pop-up.
Come on, Russ.
So the Dirty 38 guy's having some fun. That's a cute little pup. So here's Russ DeLude now. And he pounds it. Alan Osinski. Of course, Alan's about 6'2", maybe. Long arms. That ball looked like it might have a chance to get into that hole between the short center second baseman, but he got a long arm up. And that brings up Luke Thorpe. Both teams have been pretty solid defensively. And Luke, high pop-up, and that's not Luke's game. He kind of reached for that. Luke is more of a humpback over the infield kind of guy. So 2 quick outs here for Jake Zeman. So we're in the bottom of the 4th. Pitcher versus pitcher.
Away.
Again, we are live at Olympic Park in Schaumburg, northwest suburbs of the city of Chicago. I'd like to thank Kevin O'Donnell and Ronnie Zeman for their support this weekend. They've been tremendous. And Jake Zeman, little ground ball to the short center. High throw. Wickland tags him. Safe. I couldn't tell if he had made contact, but called him safe. He was clearly off the bag. I think the umpire thought he did a phantom tag. Not really much of an argument. And Wick is such a big, strong kid. He's telling the fan over there, next time I'll just really pound it into him. So Zeman on and brings up Al Coppersmith. Line drive caught by the third baseman. Nicely done there by the third baseman, Justin. So we head to the top of the fifth, 1-0, snappy ball game. Very low scoring game here. You don't see a lot of shutouts in 16-inch softball, although last year at the No Glove, Mike Mirasovic, for flashback, beat the 45s 1-0, and you know, as far as major teams go, that might be a once every 15-year occurrence almost. So, short center going to lead off here. Dante, Gary on deck, and then AG. So we're in the bottom four hitters here. And these low-scoring games, a lot of guys are not comfortable in these low-scoring games. And what also happens is you don't cycle to your top. So when your best hitters, theoretically, aren't getting 3-4 at-bats, obviously it's a lot harder to generate runs. So here's Dante, and he slashes one. Russ DeLude takes it into his body and makes the play. I like the idea of the lefty going the other way, but he hit a one-hop bullet. Not too many guys are going to beat out a one-hop bullet right at an infielder. So here's Gary. There's a high fly ball drifting back as the left fielder, and that's 2 outs. So the dirty 38s just haven't been putting a lot of runners on. And we got a pinch hitter here. I might have missed a spot here. Dante, oh no, he must be hitting for AG. Allen on deck.
Come on, 10. Come on now.
So this is a game here, this back end. The defense is going to become magnified. There's a little fly ball that'll be taken care of by Shishan. We head to the bottom of the fifth, 1-0. And I am going to take a quick break, folks. I am going to mention the live stream is powered by Gold Rush Gaming. I'm going to grab a little water. I'll be right back. And we're back. Leading off, Marty Dozen. It's a good question, Tim. There's a little ground ball deep in the hole. Russell, long throw, not in time. Julian did about all you could do. He actually caught that ball as a shortstop by the foul line and tried to get it over there. Matty Dozen going to pinch run for his brother Marty. And it brings up Dave Bradle. So leadoff man on. Dave capable of going the other way. Let's see if they try to manufacture. Line drive caught by the third baseman. Matty gets back. Nice play by the third baseman. He's caught a couple of wicked line drives over there. And it brings up Anthony, the left fielder. So I am a little surprised maybe they didn't put something on there and try to get the leadoff runner over. And there's a flare that falls in. First two hitters on. That's an example here. Had they moved Matty Doze in, he would have been at third, and you would have had a little insurance at second with less than 2 outs, excuse me. So here's Bobby Monroe, and hits a soft little fly ball, and Joe gets to it, no advancement. And that would have been interesting had they tried to send a runner from third there. And here's Mike Andrews, so big 2-out situation for Mike.
You're good, you're good.
Well, Tim, I'll be honest with you. Patty Caputo handles the budgeting for the SSA. I know there's some pretty decent prize money. And I don't know what the teams will or won't do.
You're good.
You know, some groups like the Dirty 38s, they've been known to donate the money back. We don't expect it. But if anybody decided to do it, it would be a pretty classy move, I think. And Andrew slashes it to Russell, and Julian makes the easy play, and they wiggle off the hook. We go to top of 6, still 1-0. And again, you got to remember too, Tim, that a lot of these teams don't have big budgets themselves. So they get into an event, they want to win a national championship, and if the money helps them to help run their team, that's a good thing. And again, it was a $250 entry. Last few years, it was $200, and went up $50. That $50 is going to JDRF. And, you know, I believe Ray had some other corporations throw in a few dollars. Ray's got a nice foursome for $10. You got a chance to get a foursome with a cart, golf outing. So if you're in the park, throw 10 in. Every little bit helps. So here it's going to be 11-1-2, Alan Osinski, Joe, and Justin. Alan's job is to try to get on. Alan's got kind of a lefty uppercut. And that pitch outside. Like I said, Patty Caputo handles all of that budgeting, and he's been talking to Ray. I got more of the nuts and bolts, streaming and everything else I got going on, so it's hard for me to keep up with all the neat stuff that we come up with. So here's Allen. And just caught the corner, strike 3. No real argument. I think Allen just had a little brain freeze and decided he would try to con the umpire. Nobody really arguing, including Allen. He just walked off. So here's Joe. So nice pitch there by Jake Zeman. And Joe just flips it down the line. He walks the dog. He's going to try to stretch it, and he'll make it. So 1-out double. The close strike 3 call looming even bigger now. as there was no doubt that was going to drop. Allen would have easily gotten the third, I believe, on that. So tying run, sitting at second base here for Justin. This is why I said defense this back end of the game was going to be real important. And there's a line drive. Andrews secures it.
Good ball, Jay.
Just not quite high enough. And I would be stunned if they pitched to Julian in this situation.
Let's go, Drew.
Connor Grove is a very good offensive player. And Julian is borderline elite.
They're going to walk him?
So I think here they're going to talk to Jake Zeman. Their idea is to pitch around Julian. I'd be very careful. Again, on every team, you have to decide who you don't want to beat you. Connor Grove, not the fleetest of foot. So let's see how Jake Zeman approaches this as the wheels are turning. And Julian slaps it just foul by about 1.5 feet. And that's what I mean. If they're looking to maybe pitch around him,
Hey, you got lives. You got lives.
I think Jake Zeman caught a break. Julian a hair quick on that.
Be big.
Because that was a good ball, about a 12-foot, 14-foot high line drive down the line. No way an outfielder's getting to it. And the left fielder is the deepest of all three. And now Julian comes through. We're all tied at 1. I told you he's elite. Their best player and the biggest spot thus far in the game delivers.
Watch me. I got you, Drew. I got you, Drew.
I'm a little surprised Matty Dozen allowed Jake Zeman to pitch to him. Here's Connor Grove. We're all tied at 1. And Connor Grove pops up. Mike Andrews is there. 1-1 ball game. We head to the bottom of the 6th. New ball game, 1-1. Julian Russell comes through. So Joe, the right fielder, doubled. And Julian delivered. And it's always amazing when you see kids that are top flight, and Julian is a top flight player. They get into those spots, and it's almost like they live for them. So the Fat Kid game is over. If you're out there, Bruce, give us an update. And that is part of it, you know, when you got a handful of good teams, if they run into each other early. And there's a swing by Shishan. Krutnik almost wasn't deep enough, but he jumps up, made the catch for out number 1. Here's the third baseman, Chris. So brand new ball game here, bottom of the 6th, 1-1. And he hits a ground ball up the middle. Dante, little fumble. And it gives Bankroll a base runner. It brings up Russ DeLude. Luke Thorpe on deck. I don't see Johnny Pellegrino here. Of course, Johnny got a little age on him, but still a very, very difficult out. And both these teams so far have played to a standstill here in the bottom of the 6th. These are the kind of games whoever wins is going to shake their head I used to tell my guys, who cares whether it's 2-1 or 18-1? In every tournament, you're going to have a game where you're going to have to fight and crawl and scratch. Brings up Luke Thorpe. 2 outs. Luke kind of reached for a ball his last time up. Let's see if he bears down a little bit here and gets back to hitting something over the infield. And there he does hit the line drive, and it gets through to second baseman. So that should have been a relatively routine catch. It was just below the belt line. He reached down, but just didn't catch it. So much better at bat by Luke Thorpe. He made somebody work, and he got the bonus. So here's Jake Zeman, a chance to help himself. Again, we don't know what went on in that Mound conference, so maybe he wasn't supposed to give Julian that good of a pitch, so he might be looking to get back on the plus side of the ledger with his teammates.
Way off. Back.
Sorry, folks, I was looking at the hitter and didn't see the pickoff, but the runner was about 1.5 feet from the base there. And there's a little pop-up, long run. Dante calling. So we go to a 7th inning, I believe, 1-1. So it's gut check time for both of these teams. They've played 6 innings and nothing's been decided. Connor, 7th? Top of 7, okay. Verified the inning. So it's going to be 5, 6, 7. Mark, Eric, and Scotty. And I think if you're 30-38, you want to see this kid on base because he can flat out run. A couple of years ago, he was playing center field out at Carroll Stream in the SSA Class A Glove National Championship, and he was a human highlight reel.
Marky, your best ball.
So we know this kid could run. They're tight on the left side. And there's a little cut chop coming in as Anthony, and he makes the catch. Again, that's an example. Tried to cut it. Wind blowing in, just held it up in the air just long enough. And Anthony, half slide down on his knees, made the catch. See, when you got that kind of speed, you can either hit a slow roller on the left side, or you try to hit something to the second baseman's right hand, forcing him up the middle and forcing him to throw across his body. So here's Wick. Now, last time he did get on and they walked for him, ran for him, I think. Ground ball to third, picks it up, throw, in time. And they're all, so the umpire gets the Bronx cheer about the tag, but that's a nice job by Marty. He put it out there, let Wicklund run right through it like a turnstile. And if you're a first baseman, it's okay, but you got to remember, if you don't kind of roll with the runner, that ball might get picked up, might get bumped out of your hand. So here's Scotty, and he tries to go oppo, and that's going to be out of play. Half-hearted effort there by the player watching the game down there. So very nice day. We noticed a lot of the teams that have been eliminated right now are just hanging out, finding a little shade. And this is a good park. They got some trees scattered throughout. They got the big covered concession. There's a roller up the middle. Luke Thorpe in the dirt. Marty Dozen digs it out. Bottom of the 7th. Nail-biting time if you're the dirty 38s. Any kind of run for money line wins the ball game. If not, we might have some free softball. Next scheduled games are at 2:30, so even extra innings won't really impact the tournament unless we go several deep. So it's going to be Al Coppersmith, I believe Marty Dozen, and Dave Bradle here, bottom of the 7th, 1-1. Oh, what did I say? Money line again? Every time I see Matty, I just think of money line. So Al Coppersmith, first out, always important in these situations if you're the Dirty 38s. And there's a strike. And that's what you want to do if you're Al Oshinsky. His defense has been working behind him. And that's a little deep. So if you're Alan Oshinsky right here, and he gets that one, I believe it's a full count. Pitch a decision right now. And there's strike 3. We've got our second hitter of the game. And Allen comes back after being down 3-1, gets the called strike 3. Both teams have had a hitter take a called strike 3 in this game. So big, important first out there. Good job by Oshinsky coming back. And Marty Dozen, Julian in the right spot. Marty just trying to guide it over the infield, didn't quite get it high enough. Julian got a good break on it, and that brings up Bradle. 2 outs, nobody on, bottom of the 7th. We're all knotted at 1. 60. Might be more like 70, Tim. But they're both still dangerous with a bat in their hands, that's for sure. So we love these weekends when we get to focus on the A teams. Carroll Stream for the Glove A National Championship tournament we put on, and then also this weekend. And there's he catches a strike. I would assume that's as high and as deep as you can go. Pat Morris had a pretty solid game back there. So Alan Oshinsky now. So there is a 2-out walk, and it brings up Anthony, the left fielder. Home plate jumping around a little bit here. And there's a ground ball to Julian. He'll go to short way in time. So Julian deep in the hole. He knew it was going to be tough to get the speedy left fielder. He went to short way. And Dante was very nonchalant. He just reached down and caught it. And they just get Dave Bradle hustling. Of course, he was moving on the swing. We go to the top of the 8th. Extra innings here in Carroll Stream. 1-1. Bankroll score hasn't scored in a while. think they got their run in the first or second. I think they got it in the second inning, I want to say. 30-38 scored their run in the sixth. So it's going to be Dante. It looks like Gary came out. They hit for him. I think previously, I'm not sure, but so here's Dante, speedy lefty. And he turns and burns and dumps a hit in front of Monroe. Good speed aboard to lead off the top of the eighth. Let's see how the 38s approach this. Looks like they got somebody loosening up with the bat over here. Might be hitting for AG. Gary takes the ball. His home plate starting to jump around a little bit on these pitchers. That pitch is inside. They throw behind the runner. And there's a strike. And there's a little ground ball to third. Long throw. Safe. Safe. Everybody's safe, first and third. I think he called him safe, and he mentioned that the first baseman came off the bag trying to cheat to make the throw to third. Then the question was whether or not he was off the bag after the slide. Umpire said no, and this is a pinch hitter. Runners on the corner, nobody out in a tie game, top of the eighth. Now the job here is the pinch hitter. Ideally, you'd like to get one in, one over. Sky high pop up. And they just throw it to the cutoff man. I like the idea of going the other way, but he hit it right up the elevator shaft. And here's Allen. Now, if you're Allen, you got one job. That's to make sure you can drive something, elevate it, and score this runner from third. It won't take that deep of a fly ball. And he turns and yanks it way foul. I always thought in these situations, as a hitter, when I knew I just needed a fly ball, I always cheated up in the box, maybe a half a step, because then I knew no matter what pitch he threw me, it'd be elevated, and then I trusted to get the barrel to the bat. I never overswang, because realistically, anything 150 feet is going to score a run easily. And that's a good job by Allen, not to bite. Little flat outside, that's the ball you roll your top hand over on. 31, I believe. Top of the lineup with Joe on deck. And that, if it's fair and caught, that's going to drive in the lead run. And it's a 2-1 ball game. Good throw in there by Bobby Monroe. 30-38s in the top of the eighth have taken their first lead. 2-1. And it brings up Joe. 2 outs here. And I think what Maddie might be trying to tell him is that Joe left-handed very fast. He might be telling him to have an idea of what you're going to do with the ball and to communicate. The runner will be going. Any hesitation, if you're not going to fire it right to second, you'll never get Joe running down the line. And there's a little flip job. That'll be out of play. Yeah, Steve, Pat Morris certainly works as hard as any umpire in the game today. So now if you're the outfield, you want to get the ball in quick. Little bouncer up the middle. Andrews can't make the play. And that's what I was talking about when we had Dante and Mark up. Andrews had to go to his right hand. The runner was going on the swing. He had no play at second. Tried to rush. Couldn't make the play. Here's Justin with that man Julian on deck.
Back.
2 outs, 2 on, 1 in, 2-1 lead. Top of the 8th. And there's a little chopper, little bobble, high throw, and they make the tag at first. And Marty Dozin had a little contact there with his left hand. As the throw was high, he had his hands as he pulled the ball down, just in an awkward spot. Nothing he could do about it. So here we go. Dirty 38's bottom of the 8th, nursing a 1-run lead. Bankroll needs a run to continue the game. 2, they win. Anything less, and the 38s will stay clean. And here we got a pinch hitter. Brian Fry. I believe he's hitting for Bobby Monroe. And I think if you're the 38s, you got to be careful. Even though Brian is an older player, he does have a little pop. And you don't want to play so shallow that you allow him to take his aging legs to second or third. And there he slips. A lot of time, and Wicklund will tag him for the out. I got to tell you, I haven't seen this many tag plays by a first baseman in a long time. Both teams' first basemen have had to reach out and tag guys. It looked like Brian Fry, when he strided, his front foot slipped on him, and the whole swing fell apart at that time. Top of the lineup, Mike Andrews, 1 out here. Bottom of the 8th. This has been a fun game to watch, I guess, if you like defensive softball, which I love. I enjoy this more than a 17-15 game. So you can, on the field level, you can feel the tension toward the gap, but again, it died in this wind blowing in, and you can see out there it's wide open. So there's nothing to stop that breeze from coming in. And the trees, even where we are really blowing pretty good, but coming in from out there. So down to their last out brings up Chris Shishan. Now if you're an outfielder, you got to be careful. You don't want him to split the gap with the line drive, because Chris fast enough to scoot around. And that just cleared the point. So Allen has done that a couple of times. He'll throw to third to kind of gather his thoughts. A 1-1 count here. Chris Nordskog on deck. And there's a slow roller to third. Nice catch, high throw. Wicklund didn't have to tag him. Dirty 38's trailing most of the game. They score 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 8th. and they beat Bankroll 2-1. Wow, good ball game. We hope you enjoyed it. We will definitely be back later today with some more action. Hopefully George Bliss will be up here, and a lot of good fun stuff happening. I'm going to update the live bracket board with the 1 o'clock game results so you can check it out and see what's going on. On behalf of SSA Broadcast, Gold Rush Gaming, the Czarnik family, George Bliss and myself, this is Gio signing off for now.